Okay, so for the session 2, we have our contact numbers. So you may contact us through our email, setprivatereview@gmail.com, or for any queries, you can text me at 0930-523-4564, smart, 977-0124-007 for Globe. Or you may also contact me via Skype at nathanael.alviso. Okay, and you could also review the lesson that we have. I have uploaded in YouTube the first session last Sunday. So all you need to do is to, if you look at the top on the address field, you can copy and type this, youtube.com/watch?v=x4a0ax and xkgq, which is very hard to memorize. So you could, the fastest way is to go to the search bar in YouTube and then type CET private review, and then you will see the, what do you call this, the logo. So kindly click on the video. Once you enter the channel, below this logo, you can see the subscribe button. Click on that so you could subscribe to this channel, and notification also, so you will be notified whenever I uploaded new video lessons that you can review. For those who find trouble trying to catch up last time, because the discussion is very fast, you can review our video. You can pause if you need more time to digest. You can pause the video. If you need additional information, you can Google. Okay, so this is the way we do it. Also, please, you may comment. So positive and negative comments are welcome. The negative comments, I could use that to improve the next session and the next video creation. Okay, and how do I come up with this? You might, wonder, how do I come up with this logo? So it's basically from this. So I draw a picture of a face, but I don't know how to draw hands. So I took a selfie of my two hands and then just copy it. And that's how I come up with this logo. And I was able to do it because I have studied the use of Microsoft softwares, Adobe softwares, and I was in fact certified. I'm a Microsoft certified educator. So this is an international certification for teachers who want to teach using technology. Okay, we have so many good teachers, but in this pandemic, most of them are struggling how to teach using technology. I'm also an FTA, Technology Associate, so I can, also provide interactive lessons wherein you guys can, use an application that I can create, but that will be too time consuming. Right now, I'm preoccupied with just making video contents that I hope everyone can watch. So where's my, hold on for a moment. So I have tried searching for other review tutorials. So I found one here because I want to check whether the things that we're studying, we can use them in order to answer test questions. So here is one, what I'm talking about. They will not ask you on the college entrance test. They will not ask you simple questions like identify the 8 parts of speech. Rather, the questions will be application type like this. Number 1, if biennials were planted this year, they will be likely to bloom next year. So there were choices, including no error. If there's no error in here, then you select letter E. I tried answering this. Honestly, I I have trouble finding error in here, so I answered no error and I'm wrong. Okay, so even your teachers can be wrong. Okay, that's the fact of life. So upon closer scrutiny of this, question, I see that likely is an adverb that sort of tells you that it has the same meaning as probably. Okay, it's not 100%, so probably. And then will be is when you use will, it's a modal verb that is also stating probability. So it's like a double. You're putting in a redundant words in the sentence. That's why it's the correct answer is B. This is wrong. Once you use likely, do not use will be anymore, or do not use the modal verb. Instead, the be verb that you should use is the verb are. So the statement should read, if biennials were planted this year, they are likely to bloom next year. So that is what I'm meaning to say when I told you guys that questions will not be easy. It's very important for us to study the parts of the sentence and how they are constructed. Let's go to number 2. Oh, we have a complete set of participants. So let's go over this very fast. The value of the peso declines as the rate of inflation raises. So again, with my eye, raises is transitive verb. It's like raising a flag. Okay, there should be a direct object receiving reaction, but in this case, inflation does not need a direct object. So this should be in the transitive form. Rises. Rises is the I'm sorry, intransitive form. Inflation rises. So answer is letter D. The differential attractions of the sun, and again, attraction is the main verb, so plural. So A is not correct. It should be have. It should be correct. Verb is have, plural, which we will discuss on the subject verb agreement. If it receives enough rain at the proper time, rice will grow quickly as grass. Here, it should be as quickly as grass, or should be will grow quickly like grass. Okay, so it's letter D. And this is, to be able to answer this, you must have knowledge with your conjunction. Fortune magazine is interesting, informative, and it is easy to read. Parallel. When you have multiple adjectives in a sentence, they must be in the same form. Okay, so we move this, it is, because it will make this adjective different from interesting and informative. So the correct sentence should only be, Fortune magazine is interesting, informative, and easy to read. Okay, that's parallel. Number 6, the new car model costs twice more than last year's model. Again, I thought there's no answer here, but upon closer inspection, more than is not correct, because more than is only used when there's a number in the sentence. Like, the new car model costs 2 times more than last year's model. That's the correct sentence. If you will not use a number, you just say twice, which is an adjective, then remove more. Just say than. The new car model costs twice than last year's model. So the answer here is B, is the error. Number 7, although it can be derived, again, after B, the verb should be in the past tense. So I answer B right away. And I want you to do this also to save time, because your English test will have a short time where you must be able to answer a lot of questions. You do not need to read the entire sentence. If you see right away at the first part that this is where the error is, then you answer right away. It will save you time. Believe me, you will need all the time during your English CET. So it can be derived from oil is the correct conjugation of the verb derive. So B is the answer. Skeletal muscles are voluntary muscles which are controlled directly by the nervous system. So this is fine. There's no error in here. Okay. A prism is used to refract white light, so it spreads out in a continuous spectrum of colors. You may think there's no error here, but if you will look at so, this is coordinating conjunction which specifies cause and effect. Okay, but in this sentence, the idea is not cause and effect. Okay, the idea here is purpose. The purpose of a prism is to refract light. So the correct form here, letter B is erroneous, should be so that. Okay, for purpose, or when your thought is purpose, should be a prism is used to refract white light so that it spreads out in a continuous spectrum of colors. Okay, but if it's a cause and effect, like you do not study or you do not review, so you fail. Okay, so that's the time you use the coordinating conjunction so. And we will, don't worry, we will discuss coordinating conjunction and how they are used. Okay. Next. If you check here, for you to be able to answer all these questions, you must have, you know, a general knowledge of your grammar. You must have built your vocabulary, and you must have mastery of your parts of speech. Okay, that's why we are again reviewing the parts of speech. And this ends the introduction. We will continue on the discussion of the parts of speech +1 grammar rule, the subject verb agreement. I will end the introduction with the saying, "Be curious, not judgmental," by Walt Whitman. And we will now go right away to the next module. We've studied, we have studied nouns, the first part of speech. We will now go to pronouns, okay, which is the second second parts of speech. Hold on for a moment. I think I'm receiving. I'm trying to look at your chats. All right, so I think everyone is okay with the reception of my video. So we will now proceed. So pronouns are words that replace nouns. So I know you're familiar with this. I, me, she, we, they, who, that, yours, his, her, and so on and so forth. But there are so many pronouns, like we can categorize them in so many ways. We could have the personal pronouns, like and personal pronouns have different categories, like first person, second person, third person. And further, third person can be separated into three categories rather, the female or the feminine, the masculine, and the no gender, okay? And then again, we have the singular and plural pronoun, just like nouns. So first person, the type of pronouns will change, whether it's in the subject, object, possessive, adjective, possessive pronoun, or reflexive pronouns. And if it's in the second person, then again, the forms changes. Third person, there's a male and female, the feminine and the masculine. And then we have the neutral. If the pronoun is referring to a thing, which does not have a gender, and to an animal, which could have a gender, but we're not sure what the gender is, then we could use the third person neutral pronoun. And we have singular pronouns and we also have plural pronouns. And here are the forms. For the first person, we, us, our, ours, ourselves. Second person, you, does not change for subject and object form. Your, yours for the possessive and both possessive, but one is the possessive adjective, your without S, and then the other is the possessive pronoun, which has an S in this here. Also, we have reflexive for the second person, and we also have reflexive for the third person. This is just an overview. We will analyze them in details. Again, pronouns. This is what we usually know: he, I, she, us, we. But the definition is this: it is a sentence element used to replace a noun, but not only nouns. As I mentioned earlier, it will refer to the entire sentence. So it could also use to replace a noun equivalent construction. Okay. And the replaced noun is what we call the antecedent, which we will go back later, okay, at the end part of this module. Now we can categorize them. Again, syntactically, pronouns have the same functions as nouns do. Morphologically, pronouns are used to avoid repetition. We do not want to hear the same noun subject over and over again. Okay, and we also use this to clarify the gender because pronouns have male and female gender. Okay, and it can also categorize in terms of number, whether singular or plural. We could say each student, singular. I could say many students, plural. Again, gender, I could say he is smart, she is beautiful. So I can specify the gender just by using pronouns. And we have 8 categories of pronouns. So we have personal, the one you're familiar already. We have possessive, demonstrative, reflexive, and emphatic. These are the same words, but they have different functions in a sentence, the emphatic and the reflexive. Interrogative pronouns, relative pronouns, reciprocal, and indefinite pronouns. We'll discuss them one by one, starting with the personal pronoun. The personal pronoun, if it's first person and singular, we use I. If it's plural, we use we, okay? Of course, there's also the objective form, singular me, and plural us. Like in this case. For the subjective, we use we. For the objective, we use us, okay? And then we also have second person, singular or plural. The pronoun we use is the same, you, okay? For third person, this is the pronoun where we identify the gender, okay? So if it's third person, male, subjective form, we use he. If it's third person male, objective form, object form, we use him, meaning we use it as the direct object or the object of the preposition or the indirect object. Anything where you hear the object, it should be in the objective form. And likewise, if it's female, we use she, okay? And for object form, it becomes her, okay? And neutral, it, whether it's subjective or objective in form. So here are the complete table. So you may take the time to review them one by one, but we will not waste time discussing them here one by one, okay? This is just a review. All right, so if I talk about first person, it means that I am talking about myself, the speaker, okay? It does not matter whether it's subjective or objective. Subjective, it's I. Again, I'm talking about myself, the speaker. But if we say second person, then we're talking about the listener, okay? You guys, okay? It could be singular, I only have one student, or it could be plural, but I will use the pronoun you for both singular and plural. But if I'm talking about a person or a thing that is not me, the speaker, and also not part of the listener or my audience, we're talking about somebody else, not in the conversation, then we will use the third person, and we will distinguish. If it's a guy, then we use him or he as subjective form. If it's a girl, we use her in the objective form, or she for the subjective form. Of course, plural, we use them. Okay. Again, third person does not include the speaker and does not include the listener. They are talking about some other people. It could also be talking about a thing. So it could be a star, singular. We use it. It could be an animal where we're not sure of the gender. We also use it. For plural, we use them. Many stars. I watch them. I will look for them tonight. The stars, I mean, or them for animals. Us is the plural first person. We're talking about the speaker and the listener. Of course, if the speaker is not included and it's plural, we use you. Okay, here, you. So here are the sample sentences. A subject form of the first person pronoun, I like coffee. Object form, I am receiving the action. We use me. John helped me. Same with second person, do you like coffee? You are the doer of the action like. But if you're receiving the action like or love, then you use the object form, which is still the same, you. John loves you. Third person, male, he runs fast. Objective form, the drum beat him. So him is now receiving the action beat. Of course, feminine, she is clever. And objective form is her. Does Mary know her? Plural, we went home. Subjective form, Anthony drove us. This time, it's receiving the action of drove, so we use the object form. And then it doesn't work, the neutral. Can the engineer repair it? Object form of the third person neutral. Do you need a table for 3? Did John and Mary beat you at double? So you see here singular to plural to subjective to objective. For second person you, it does not change in form. Okay, you only changes when it comes to the possessive pronoun form. It becomes your. I'm sorry, it becomes yours because it becomes a possessive adjective. That's the time you make it your without S. Plural, they play doubles, subjective. John and Mary beat them, objective. Plural, them. Now, it is also introduced when it is an indefinite subject. And especially when we're talking about weather, temperature, time, and distance, we use it, okay? It's a pronoun subject, but it does not specify anything, okay? Probably just a filler, just so we can have a subject. Like it's raining, it will probably be hot tomorrow. Is it 9 o'clock yet? It's 50 kilometers from here to Cambridge, okay? Now we will go to the possessive pronouns. Possessive pronouns, again, is the one that is indicating property, okay? So if you find a possessive pronoun and there's a noun following it, then it becomes a possessive adjective, okay? For example, mine is a possessive pronoun. This presentation is mine, okay? So mine there is standalone. It does not have a noun following it, so it's a possessive pronoun. But if I say this is my lessons, my there is a possessive adjective. It is describing the lessons. It's sort of saying that the lessons belong to me, okay? So that's your possessive pronouns. Now we'll discuss about, this is just side story, the superiority of Filipino over English. Because in English, we just have us and ours to mean either one talking and his friends, okay? Or it could also include the listeners, that's the talker and the other friends. The one talking and his friends, and then you add the listener. For example, we just say he is our teacher, but it is vague here what we mean. Do we mean that when you say Sir Nathan is our teacher, does that mean that I am included, right? Or does that mean that you're only talking about yourselves, that I am your teacher, okay? But in Filipino, we can distinguish that. We could say, siya ang ating guro. So it means I am included, okay? Like, si Presidente Duterte ang ating Pangulo. So the 30 of you here, plus me, the one listening, is included in the group, okay? But if you say, siya ang aming guro, like you're talking to your class advisor, so you say, siya ang aming guro, and I'm listening, it means I'm not included in that group, okay? Your teacher in your school is not my teacher, okay? So that's why I'm proud to say that the Filipino language is richer than English. Let's go back to the lesson, okay? So below are the possessive pronouns. Again, if, let's see, first person, then we use mine. There must be no noun following it, noun or pronoun. And then second person, yours with S. Third person will depend whether it's masculine or feminine. If it's male, you use his. This laptop is his, okay? This dress is hers, okay? If you say this dress is his, then we have a problem. Probably his is you know, gay, okay? Bakla. So you have to be careful with the use of your gender of your third person possessive pronoun. And then we also have the plural. So if many owns the or have a possession of the lessons, so you could say this lessons is ours, okay, with S. If we're using this as a possessive pronoun, but if we will use this as a possessive adjective, then there must be a noun following our, and then we lose the S. So we say this is our lesson, okay? Same with yours for the second person. This lesson is yours, but if I will use it as a possessive adjective, then I will add the noun lesson and then I lose the S. This is your lesson. Same with the third person, plural. This is their lesson, but if it's going to be a possessive pronoun, not a possessive adjective, then I will add the S. I will just say this lesson is theirs, okay? Stating the ownership of the subject lesson. Okay, look at this picture. Mine is the big one. So again, possessive pronoun can appear at the start of the sentence. So mine is the big one, and the antecedent, or what this one is referring to, is mentioned in the other sentences mentioned before. Okay, so in this case, mine is referring to my picture. I like your flowers. Do you like mine? Again, mine here is referring to the flowers that belongs to me. Now, third person, all the essays were good, but his was the best. So his is a possessive pronoun because there's no noun following it. But if I want to make it a possessive adjective, I just say all the essays were good, but his essay was the best. Same with this. John found his passport, but Mary couldn't find hers. Hers is a possessive pronoun, but if I want to make it an adjective, I'll just say John found his passport, but Mary couldn't find her passport. There you go. So if there's a noun following, so if you use the pronoun before, you use this for my, your, his, my wallet, your laptop, his cell phone, our lesson, your test, their results. So there's another pronoun following, okay, these forms. But if it's a standalone, no noun following it, then you use the possessive pronoun mine. This lesson is mine. These videos are yours, and this bag is hers. If more than one owns the item, so we say this lesson is ours, this bag is yours, and the videos are theirs. So if the answer to the question, whose pen is this? If I reply, it's Claudia's pen, then Claudia's is not a possessive noun anymore. It's a possessive adjective, okay? If I want to make it a possessive noun, the pen should not be there. So I just say it's Claudia's. So it's a possessive noun. Same with pronoun possessive. If I say it's her pen, there's a noun following her, the word her, so her is an adjective. And it is describing pen. If I want to make it a possessive pronoun, I will remove pen. I'll just say it's hers, okay? Same with this, whose backpack is this? So I could say it's Dave's backpack. Dave's here is an adjective. It's his backpack. His is an adjective because it's modifying a noun, which is backpack. But if I just say it's Dave's, that's a possessive noun. If I say it's his, it's a possessive pronoun, okay? Now, we could also refer to a thing without, gender, not male or female, like computer. So I will use their. It's their computer, again, adjective form. But if I want to use the possessive pronoun, I'll say it's theirs with S, okay? Of course, I can also use the possessive noun. I would say it's Dave and Claudia's, okay? So a review, the house, if it's owned by more than one, we say ours. If it's owned by my listener, so I'll say it's yours. But if it's owned by me, the speaker, I will say it is mine. Again, now we will distinguish between the subject pronouns and the possessive adjective and the possessive pronoun because they have different forms. Okay, like here, I, subjective, objective, again, different for me. Possessive adjective, it's my, and then possessive pronoun, it's mine. So same with the others. Second person, you, your, and yours. Okay, you can identify what are they based on their forms. He, his, his. So for the third person, male, possessive adjective and possessive pronoun is the same, his. But not so with the female gender. If it's a possessive adjective, meaning there's a noun following it, you use her without S, like her makeup kit, okay? But if there's no noun following, I just say it's hers, okay? And so on and so forth, okay? We have they, their, theirs. So if we say it's their computer, computer is a noun, so there is a possessive adjective. If I just say it's theirs, then it's a possessive pronoun. Now we go to the next pronoun, which is a reflexive and emphatic pronoun. And they are one and the same words, but different function. And those pronouns are the myself, yourself, himself, herself, themselves, okay? So reflexive pronoun is when they are the object of the action, okay? And the object of the action is also the subject, meaning they are one and the same person. So that's what you call reflexive. Emphatic is when we use the pronouns myself, yourself to emphasize the subject. If you can remember our discussion on the appositives, which emphasizes the subject by renaming it with another noun, like Nathaniel Alviso, your teacher, is creating videos online. So Nathaniel Alviso and your teacher are the same person. So I just use your teacher as an appositive. Here I could use the reflexive pronoun myself to emphasize. I, myself, teaches you English lessons. So I and then myself is the same person. In other grammar texts or references, emphatic pronouns are also called intensive pronoun because it's an intensifier to the subject. So we can know whether it's reflexive or intensive if, depending on the position it occupies in a sentence. Okay. By the way, you can conjugate it into the plural. Myself, are singular. Yourself and himself, herself, itself are all singular. If it's plural, you change the form. If you say are ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. So here, the position they occupy in a sentence will tell you whether it's reflexive or intensive. So here, I saw myself in the mirror. Myself is a direct object of the verb saw. So that means it's reflexive. But if I say, why do you blame yourself? I'm sorry, this is a question. Again, this is reflexive because yourself is the direct object of the verb blame. Same here, John sent himself a copy. Let's say John is one of the students here and he downloaded the video in YouTube and sent it to his phone. So he is the doer of the action and the recipient is also himself. So I use the reflexive pronoun. But if it's sort of just intensifying the subject, like I myself made it or I made it myself, then that's the time that it becomes reflexive. Okay? Have you yourself seen it or have you seen it yourself? Again, yourself is simply emphasizing the subject you. Okay? You spoke to me herself or she herself spoke to me. Again, herself and she is the same subjects, okay? Here, myself is the, I'm sorry. Here, yourself is the object, okay? Blame yourself. But here, yourself is also the subject, okay? So it is intensive. And it could also become object of the preposition, like I study English by myself. So myself is now the object of the preposition by, okay? It's, if you want to make it intensive pronoun, you say, I myself study English, okay? So how do we test whether it's reflexive or intensive? Because they have the same form. So how would we test? So for me, the best way to do it is to remove the pronoun, okay? And then check whether it makes sense. For example, Mercedes designed the costume herself, okay? So if I say, or I remove herself, I just put in, or I just say Mercedes designed the costume, it still makes sense. Therefore, this is an intensive pronoun or emphatic, okay? But if it needs a direct object, like here, Rover tried everything he could think of to free himself. If I remove himself, I just say Rover tried everything he could think of to free, then the sentence will not be complete. You might say, free what? Okay. So in this case, Rover will free, and that's the action, but he will not free anyone else. He will not free the cat. He will free himself. Okay. So the action or the receiver of the action is also the doer of the action. That's the time you use reflexive pronoun. Now we go to demonstrative pronoun. So demonstrative pronoun is pronouns that we use that is accompanied by the body language of, you know, demonstration. Like I point someone far where I say that is my laptop, okay? But or I could be holding something. I would say this is my pen, okay? Or this is my phone, okay? So I'm holding it, so I use the demonstrative pronoun this plus my body language, okay? So these are the demonstrative pronouns, okay? Again, they can be demonstrative adjectives if there's a noun following it. So if I say this phone is Samsung, so this is functioning as an adjective, okay? It's modifying the noun phone, okay? But if I say this is my phone, the word this is followed by the linking verb is. Therefore, this in that sentence is a demonstrative pronoun, and it refers to the phone. So we are familiar with the very common demonstrative, the this, that, these, and those. And basically, it refers to proximity in space. For example, if it's near me and it's singular, I will use this, okay? This is my phone. But if I have many phones, imagine I have many, so I will use these are my phones, more than one. And if they are far from me and I will need to point, so I will say that, imagine it's far, so that is my phone. If there are many, I will say those are my phones, okay? And it does not only refer to the proximity in space, it could also refer to proximity in time. Like now we have the pandemic, we could say these are bad times because of the COVID. It's very near, or it's in the recent past, like COVID started last March, okay? But if we're referring to past history that is way back, then we use those. Those days were bad. For example, we're talking about World War II. It's very far from present, okay? So we use those. Now for the word that, demonstrative, you can see that in sentences, but they are not always taking the function of demonstrative pronoun, okay? That student is pretty. That here is an adjective. It's modifying the subject student. Relative pronoun, anything that you donate is welcome. That here is related to anything. They are one and the same thing. We will discuss relative pronoun later. He said that he had been there before. You have two independent clauses. He said. So we have a verb and we have a subject and a verb. Therefore, that's one clause. And then here, he had been there before. Again, we have a subject and we have a predicate with a verb, been there before, had been there before rather. So that's another independent clause. So we connect them with that. Therefore, that here is a conjunction. We will discuss a conjunction maybe next week, okay? Adverb, the snow was that high. Again, with a demonstration, the snow was that high. If I say the snow was that high, I say the same sentence, but it will have different meaning. That high, okay? So here, the word that is modifying the word high, which is an adjective. Therefore, that here is an adverb. And also demonstrative pronoun happens only when there's no noun following it. Like that smells. I say that smells. So that is referring to whatever I'm pointing at, okay? But if I say that durian smells, the subject in the sentence is now durian. It's no longer the demonstrative pronoun that. So here, that durian smells, that here becomes a demonstrative adjective. And that can also refer to people or person, okay? Because we're so used to referring to people as he or she, depending on whether it's female or male, but we could also use that. For example, this is Joshua speaking. Is that Nelson? So that here is referring to Nelson. Or that sounds like amethyst. For example, or amethyst is around the corner, so we cannot see her, but she talks very loud, so we can hear her very distinct voice. So we could say that sounds like amethyst. That is now standalone, therefore it's a demonstrative pronoun referring to amethyst. So again, example, if the dog is near me, I will say, this is my dog, Penny. But if the dog is far from me, like in a corner, so I will point to the dog, I will say, that is my dog, Guinness, okay? Now we go to the interrogative pronouns, and interrogative pronouns are pronouns that we use to introduce a question or an interrogative sentence. And we usually use interrogative pronoun because we do not know yet what is the subject, okay? For example, by the way, so those are the 5 WH words: who, whom, what, which, and whose, okay? So person, who is if it's in the subject form, and if it's in the object form, we use whom, okay? If it's a thing, no gender, then we use what. Personal thing, we can use which. And then possessive is the whose, okay? So if we will introduce a question like, who told you? The subject here is who, which we do not know yet. But based on the answer, John told me, then who represents the subject John, okay? If what we do not know is the receiver of the action, then we change the interrogative pronoun into the objective form whom. So we say, whom did you tell? We do not know yet. So it's in the objective form because we are asking for someone who received the action. So if the answer is I told Mary, then whom represents the noun Mary. Of course, if it's not a person, like an event, we use what? What's happened? So in here, it's in the subject form because the answer is an accident happened, okay? So what are you looking at? That's the, I don't know what this is. A hamster, maybe. Again, those are the 5 WH, who, what, whom, which, and whose, okay? Now we will go to the relative pronouns, okay? Relative pronouns, by the term itself is, you know, they are related to another noun or pronoun, okay? That's a relative pronoun. For example, if it's a subject, then I will use who. If it's an object, I will use whom. If it's a possession, I will use whose. If it's things, not a person, then I will use which, okay? And of course, thing again, we will use that, okay? But that can also be used for people, as I have mentioned earlier, right? When I discussed that in the demonstrative pronoun. It can also be used as a relative pronoun. So I will not discuss that again. So it introduces a subordinate dependent clause. We will discuss this when we are on the forms of sentences, like the simple sentence, the compound sentence, and the complex sentence. But that will be on another module. So for example, the relative pronoun here is who, the subjective form, because who here represents person, which is the doer of the action, the one phoning, okay? So I use the person who phoned me last night is my teacher. Okay, who here is the same as the person, our subject. And that subject is doing the action. But if the subject is receiving the action, then we will use the relative pronoun whom in the objective form. So here, the person whom I phoned last night is my teacher. Therefore, whom here refers to the person who is receiving the action of the phone call, okay, of phoning. And of course, if it's a thing, then like car, we use which. The car which hit me was yellow, and which is a relative of the noun car. Actually, they are one and the same thing. And example of the possessive relative pronoun is the whose, okay, whose driver. The car whose driver jumped out just before the accident was completely destroyed. Okay, whose here is now relating to the ownership of the car in relation to the driver. Okay, so the driver is the owner of the car, or the driver is the one driving the car rather. Okay, I can also use that. The red Ferrari is the one that I want. So that here is related to the red Ferrari because they are referring to the same thing. So if I ask what is that you want, then you can answer it's the red Ferrari because that and then red Ferrari stands for the same noun. So that ends the relative pronoun. We will go to the reciprocal pronouns. So reciprocal pronouns are, you know, there are only two, each other and one another. And we use each other if there are only two. And then we use one another if there are more than two, okay? So that by definition, they are pronouns which means that an action or activity involves two people if I use each other, or it involves a group of people more than two if I use one another. And also the action is reciprocal, meaning what the other person is doing to the recipient is also reciprocating or doing also to the first person mentioned. So two or more, we use each other and they are acting in the same way. So for example, Eunice Lopez is, I could say, Eunice Lopez is messaging Fritz Ugas, and Fritz Ugas is messaging Eunice Lopez. So instead of me mentioning that long statement, I could just say Fritz Ugas and Eunice Lopez is messaging each other, okay? So again, if two subjects are involved, we use each other. John and Mary love each other, okay? If you say John and Mary love one another, then there's a problem, third wheel, right? There's probably John has a, what do you call this, kabit? Mistress, okay? That's why it's stress, mistress, okay? So do not say John and Mary love one another. Should be with each other only. So it will only mean two people are doing it to each other. If it's more than two, like 10 prisoners, we're all blaming, use one another. All blaming one another. All right? So try to be careful with that, especially when it comes to marriage. Okay, should it only be two, each other. They also enable us to simplify sentences, as I have mentioned before. So for this example, at the birthday party, and Nuggy gave Furley a candy and Furley gave Nuggy a candy, I can just say, at the birthday party, Nuggy and Furley gave each other a candy. See, that's the use of the reciprocal pronoun. Or Andy kissed Nia and Nia kissed Andy. I'll just say Andy and Nia kissed each other. Again, more than 2 people, use one another. Like the students in the classroom cooperate with one another. The 4 boys help one another with their work. So more than 2. Saying each other. Again, one another is when you're in the using the formal form of writing, and also when you are answering your CET English test. If it's more than 2, one another should be used. But in day-to-day conversation, usually you can hear each other being used for more than 2 persons. But that is only for the informal, okay? For your CET exam, be mindful of the rule, okay? So example, Cinta and Jojo sing each other or sing to each other. Rio and Steven hate each other. Those are 2 subjects. The gangsters were fighting one another. That means the gangsters are more than 2, probably 5 or more. Teletubbies hug one another. If you're in my time, Teletubbies, there are, I think, 4 Teletubbies. So that's more than 2. So conclusion, there must be 2 or more people or groups for you to be able to use the reciprocal pronoun, and the subjects must be doing the same action to one another. Okay, one action. You cannot use reciprocal if, let's say, Eunice is messaging Fritz and Fritz is, another action, like Fritz is calling Eunice. So you cannot use a reciprocal pronoun because there are 2 different actions. So there, the action is reciprocated. And then the 4th rule is one another is used if there's more than 2 subjects. Now we will go to the indefinite pronoun. Indefinite pronoun is, or will become important when you're looking the errors in the application of the subject verb agreement. Okay, so indefinite pronouns by definition is the one that refers to a person, thing, or amount which is not definite or not specific. Okay, and they are also, they replace nouns that are not named. Okay, and they are here. There are indefinite pronouns that are always singular. So when you're applying your SVA, always use singular verbs when you encounter this: another, everybody, no one, anybody, everyone, nothing, so on and so forth. You just read, okay? But there are indefinite pronouns that are always plural. So I have a mnemonic for that, BF MOS, okay? That stands for both, few, many, others, and several. So whenever I see these indefinite pronouns, I check the verb that follows it right away. So if it's singular, then I know that's the error in the sentence. It is always plural, okay? Whenever you encounter these indefinite pronouns. And there are indefinite pronouns that can be singular and it can be plural. And those are all, any, most, none, and then some, okay? Notice none and no one might mean the same, but when it comes to singularity, they are not the same. No one here is always singular, but none can be singular or it can be plural. And we will discuss that when we are on the subject verb agreement. So we can discuss that now. No one versus none. So no one is always singular. Like no one is absent today. I wish, okay? Because we will discuss a lot of topic today. So if one is absent, he or she will have a lot of catching up to do. But don't worry, even if you miss the live class, I will upload the video later, so you could watch on your own time. That's what we call the asynchronous education. Okay, not everyone is learning the same concept at the same time. But right now we're doing the live presentation, so this is the synchronous. So you are learning the same lesson at the same time. Now, if I say none, it can be singular or plural, like none of the cake is left, if I'm referring to one cake. But if I say none of the cakes are left, I'm referring to several cakes, okay? We will discuss that later in the subject verb agreement. And also one is always singular, and it is also a special indefinite pronoun in the sense that it is impersonal, meaning it does not you know, distinguish between male or female. So if you want to avoid the phrase he or she, because you want to be gender sensitive, or you don't want to be gender sensitive, then we replace that with one. For example, it is advisable for one to always study right after the Zoom meeting instead of waiting for the night before the exam. Okay. I could use he or she, okay, or his, I'm sorry, him or her in the sentence, but I don't want to, you know, specify gender, so I just use the impersonal pronoun one. Again, always singular. There's no mnemonic for this because there's so many, but for the always plural, remember BF Moss, okay? Those are both others, I'm sorry, both few, many, others, and several. And then we have the indefinite pronouns that can be singular or plural, okay? And they are the all, any, most, and none. When we discuss the subject-verb agreement, we will go back to all, any, most, and none because it is related to the fractions and percentage, okay? Let's save that later. All right, note that many indefinite pronouns also function as other parts of speech. Let's take a look at an example, like another. This is an indefinite pronoun that is always singular. But if there's, like here, he has one job in the day and another at night, meaning another represents one job, which is different from what we're talking about, okay? But if the pronoun is followed by a noun, then it's no longer a pronoun, it becomes an adjective. Like here, I'd like another drink, please. So another, which used to be an indefinite pronoun, becomes an adjective. So if you remember the nursery rhyme, Humpty Dumpty fell from the wall, so all the king's men and all the king's horses cannot put Humpty Dumpty back together again. All there is the indefinite pronoun that refers to all the men and all the horses. So in that case, it is plural in form. And again, a singular pronoun will take a singular verb. That's on our SVA, Subject Verb Agreement. So any personal pronoun should also agree in number. For example, all is given. Here we're referring to one sin. It could be many. Individual commitment, like stealing. You steal one phone today, and then last week you stole a laptop because you're a thief. So that's your profession. But once you are forgiven, that's only just one sin. So you say all is forgiven. Okay. But if I'm referring to something that can be counted and they are more than one, like all have arrived, then I will use all in the plural form. So it will use plural verb. Now, if I use everybody, this is where many are committing mistakes. They think that it's more than one. We can start the meeting because everybody has arrived. You might think that it's more than one, but actually the context of this sentence is that everybody is taken one at a time. Like, for example, you're arriving, like 30 of you, you cannot arrive at the same time because you have to enter the door one by one, okay? Especially if the door is very small. So when I say everybody has arrived, or there's a sentence that says we can start the meeting because everybody has arrived, and then you point the arrow is the word has because it's singular, it should be have, plural, then you will make a mistake in the exam because in that statement there's no error. So the answer should be letter E. And then in the sentence, John likes coffee but not tea, I think both are good. Both, again, are always plural, okay? Because this pronoun refers to coffee and tea. So they are more than one. So what is an antecedent? So an antecedent is, what the pronoun stands for. Remember, pronouns is used to replace nouns. So the noun it replaces is the antecedent, okay? So in one sentence, we can have many antecedents and many pronouns as well. So in this sample sentence, Junior, this is a proper noun, the name of this guy, took his dog. So we have here a pronoun, his, and the antecedent is Junior, right? Took his dog, so we have a direct object here, the noun dog, to the pet store and bought her. In this pronoun, her, has a different antecedent. The antecedent is dog, okay? Because his is referring to Junior, okay? So her is referring to the dog because probably the dog is female, okay? Bought her a treat. So treat is not a person or an animal, so it cannot be a male or female, okay? So on the next sentence, he bought it, we use a neutral pronoun, it. And it, the antecedent is the treat, okay? The object treat. It could either be the the bone here, okay? It could be the pillow. So those are the treat. He bought it, again, referring to treat as the antecedent because he, this noun, pronoun he refers to Junior, the antecedent, loves her. Again, her has the antecedent, the dog we're talking about. So that ends our discussion on pronouns. I will end it with a saying, remember, there's no such thing as a small act of kindness. Every act creates a ripple with no logical end. So we have mentioned nouns and pronouns. We will now go to the next parts of speech, which is verbs, okay? Before we tackle subject-verb agreement. Okay, let's also discuss verbs first. Okay, give me just one moment. So we will now go to the verbs. And kindly tell me if you're not seeing the presentation, because whenever I speak, there should be you should be seeing different slides in your screen. So module 4, verbs. So verbs comes from the Latin word verbum, meaning word, okay, or verbo, okay, and it means that it refers to words that are action words, okay, like bring, read, walk, run, learn. It could also refer to a state of being, like the be verbs is, are, or the occurrence, like the verbs happen, become, okay? So those are the definition of verbs and examples. But we will discuss the 7 basic classification of verbs, and they are the transitive, intransitive, linking, impersonal, reflexive, modal, and auxiliary. And we will not discuss them in detail, because if you sorry about that. If you will discuss verbs in details, then it will take forever to discuss them. Probably it will take 1 semester or the entire year, because these are the classifications of the verbs. See, it occupies the entire screen. So we will only discuss the basic parts of the verbs and how they function in a sentence. And the basic category are the transitive and intransitive, because a sentence will have a different form when it's used intransitive, and another form when it uses transitive verbs. For example, here, there's a direct object. Paul hit the ball over the fence. Since we have a direct object, in this case, ball, receiving the action hit. Therefore, we can say that hit is a transitive verb. Transit meaning it's like there's a transition. Or if you say transit, like the bus transit, so it travels from one to another, from the doer to the receiver, okay? So that's why it's called transitive. Or the next example, the crowd cheered the batter. So the batter received the action cheer. So cheer is transitive. There's a transit of the action. So transitive verbs will have receivers of the action. The crowd applauded the players. People screamed at the pitcher. And here, players and pitcher are what we call the direct object. They are nouns and pronouns receiving the action. So they are the direct object, which I have discussed when we on the module nouns. So if you forgot about it, don't worry, we have a video on YouTube of the first session. You could just review and play the discussion about nouns over again. Now, if a verb does not send its action to another noun or pronoun, meaning it's not in transit, we use intransitive verb, okay? Like sometimes the same verb, like cheer, it can be a transitive or intransitive. Like in this example, the crowd cheered the batter. There's another noun or pronoun receiving the action of cheer, okay? But if you're just cheering, you're jumping up and down because you're happy, but there's no direct object receiving your action, then cheer becomes an intransitive verb. Like here, people cheered wildly. So probably they're not, their action is not directed to a particular team. They are just cheering because it's a very good game, like a close scoring game in basketball. So they are cheering because they're happy about the game. So here, cheer is intransitive. Another example of intransitive verbs are jumped. In the sentence, my dad jumped high. High is not a noun, it's an adjective. I'm sorry, adverb, because it modifies or describes a verb, okay? So jumped here is intransitive. But if there's a receiver of the action, the noun gate, then jumped is or it becomes transitive. Like in this sentence, last year, students jumped the gate. So we have a direct object. Or here, a sixth grader jumped a grade. Or in my case, I jumped from grade 4, I go straight to grade 5. So your trainer jumped a grade. So here, there's a receiver of the action, which is the grade. In my case, grade 4. I no longer took grade 4. So I jumped on grade 4. So I jumped grade 4. So jumped here is transitive. Now for linking verbs, you notice that whenever we use linking verbs, there is no direct object because the noun or pronoun following the linking verbs are not direct objects. They are subject complement, meaning they are referring to the same subject, okay? For example, the ravens are the winners. Here, the noun winners and the proper noun, the ravens, they are one and the same thing, okay? Therefore, are is an intransitive verb. They seem triumphant about their victory. Here, my predicate phrase includes an adjective, triumphant, okay? And this is sort of triumphant. It is describing my subject, they. So here is a predicate adjective, not a direct object. Therefore, seem here is a linking verb, which is also an intransitive verb. And then the theme is in the first place right now. So first place, this is a noun. And again, it is, in first place Now, so first place, this is the object of the preposition in. Okay, it's not a direct object, it's the object of the preposition, therefore is an intransitive. Remember, guys, we only use intransitive, or I'm sorry, we only use transitive if there is a direct object receiving the action. We can't do this anymore, this activity, although I would love to have an interactive activity to you know, not make the discussion boring, but we do not have time. We need to cover more modules. So I will answer this myself. Mrs. Bustamante teaches us geometry, teaches there's a direct object, the noun geometry, okay? So this is transitive. There you go. A 180-degree angle is a straight line. Is a linking verb, therefore, the sentence does not contain a direct object. A straight line is, what do you call this? A predicate nominative or a predicate noun of the subject 180 degree. So basically they are the same. Therefore, is intransitive. We draw circles with a compass and also study angles. We have direct objects, circles, and angles for the verbs draw and study. Therefore, draw and study are transitive verbs. Math becomes interesting with Mrs. Bustamante for a teacher. Becomes is an action word, but in this sentence, it is acting as a linking verb to the adjective interesting. Interesting math, adjective. So this is a predicate adjective, which is the subject complement of the word math. So becomes here is a linking verb, and it is behaving as an intransitive verb. A right angle has 90 degrees, has a direct object, degrees. So transitive. So what we learned so far, a transitive verb expresses action and is received by a noun or pronoun that we call the direct object. And intransitive verb, of course, will not have another noun or pronoun to receive that action. Okay, it's intransitive. There's no transit of action. And we call the noun or pronoun receiving the action as the direct object. Okay, and the linking verbs, since they only have either a predicate adjective or predicate noun following it, not a direct object, then they are classified as intransitive verbs. Now we go to the linking verb, which again we know of as the intransitive verb, or one category of intransitive verb, but they perform a different function in a sentence in that it's simply link the subject to the description if what follows is an adjective, predicate adjective, because it's the adjective is in the predicate part of the sentence, or it could be a renaming the subject, meaning the subject and the subject complement is one and the same thing. So instead of description, we are renaming the subject. So we will use a linking verb to link the two. So that's why we call that linking verb. It's like a chain connecting description to the subject. So we are aware that linking verbs are usually the be verbs, I, is, was, were, been, am, but also regular verbs that usually are, you know, referring to the action of the 5 senses that we have: sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. So those can be linking verbs as well. Like these verbs: smell, look, taste, remain, feel, appear, sound, seem, become, grow, stand, turn. So if they do not express action, it's just referring to a state of being, they are linking verbs. Like here, Mia and Jenna are best friends. We're not referring to an action here. They are not doing anything. It's referring to a state, meaning they are right now best friends, but probably if they fight over a boyfriend because of that action, they will be enemies tomorrow. But right now, their state of friendship is they are best friends. So best friends are nouns, and it refers to Mia and Jenna. Proper nouns. They are one and the same thing. So you use the linking verb are. And then if we use an adjective like endured, remember endured is a verb in the past participle form, but it can be used as an adjective like here, endured. You could say endured Pat. So it's describing Pat. If I use a linking verb, Pat was injured, so this will serve as a predicate adjective. So Pat was injured in a car accident. Again, we use a linking verb. So again, the form is subject, then linking verb, then subject complement. Like here, James felt hungry. Hungry is not a noun. It's an adjective. And then here, the angry bird was a hawk. Here, hawk is a noun. I'm sorry, hungry here is an adverb to be exact because it's describing felt, which is a verb. Hawk here is a noun. Therefore, the angry bird and also hawk is one and the same thing. So you use a linking verb. And then Ileana grew tired of repeating her instruction. Tired, again, is an adjective. A verb in the past participle becoming an adjective as a function, as its function in the sentence. So Ileana grew tired. Now, we can make grew an action verb or a transitive verb if we put a direct object, like Ileana grew roses in her backyard. So in that case, grew becomes a transitive verb. Same here, James felt the dog, okay? So if, example, you use your hands to, you know, feel the fur of the dog, then there's another noun or pronoun receiving the action. Therefore, felt becomes a transitive verb. So the quickest way to check whether it's a linking verb or not is we substitute the equal sign to the linking verb, and if it still makes sense, then it's a linking verb. Like here, James equals hungry. Therefore, it makes sense. James equals hungry. Okay, so felt is a linking verb. Okay, sorry, hungry here. I would like to point out is an adjective because it is describing James. Okay, hungry is now a subject complement. So since it's describing a noun, James, in this sentence, it is an adjective. It is not describing hungry, felt, because felt here is not an action word. It is a linking verb. So if I remove felt, James equals hungry, still makes sense. But if I have a sentence like James felt the dog, and I remove felt to replace it with equals, I say James equals the dog, then it does not make sense, right? Or same here, Ileana grew tired of repeating her instruction. We remove grew, we put in Ileana equals tired. It makes sense. But in the sentence, Ileana grew roses in her backyard. If we put equals instead of grew, Ileana equals roses. Again, Ileana is not a plant or a flower, so it does not make sense. So that's how we quickly change whether, we quickly check whether the verb is linking verb or a transitive verb. Then we also have the impersonal verb. So these are the verbs that uses it as its subject. There are sentences where it does not refer to a specific person, thing, or idea. We just use it to sort of fill up the sentence, like when we're talking about the weather or we're denoting impressions, then we use impersonal verb, like it is raining. Here the subject is it. It seems that she is sick. Okay, again, it is the subject, and then it occurred to me that you are acting sick. Okay, it again is the subject, and it's not personal. We're not referring to anything. We just use it to create a subject for this sentence. Okay, so like this, it is raining hard today. We're referring to weather. Or it seems that she is sick. So here we see, looking at the evidence, that this girl is really sick. Okay, but if we say it occurred to me that he is acting sick, so occurred here is used in the sense that, you know, this guy is only acting up. Okay, because probably he does not want to go to work. Or in your case, if before COVID, you do not want to go to school, you will say to your mom and your dad that you're sick. So it occurred to me that you're just acting up. Okay. Now we will go to the reflexive verbs. So reflexive verbs are those that uses reflexive pronouns. Okay. Remember when we discuss pronouns, reflexive pronouns are the myself, yourself, themselves. Okay. So verbs that we use and receive reflexive pronouns as the direct object, we call that the reflexive verb. Like I wash myself. So you're in the bathtub, you're doing the action of washing, and the direct object is yourself. So wash is a reflexive verb. Same with bath and shave. Okay. And notice that these verbs can also become transitive verbs if there's another noun or pronoun receiving the action, not the doer. Okay, like I wash the car. Okay, so the car is not doing the action, therefore wash is no longer a reflexive verb. So again, I wash myself. So if we will check, I is the subject, verb is wash, and then the object, your direct object is myself. So you have a reflexive verb. But if the sentence is I wash the car, then it's not reflexive. It's a transitive verb. If I say I scratch myself, then scratch is reflexive. But if I say I scratch the dog, then scratch is transitive. Okay, again, there's a transit of the action from the doer to another receiver. That's basically what it means. So reflexive or not, I bathe, that's reflexive because the receiver is you. Okay, but if you say I bathe the baby, then this is transitive. If you wake up, then you do the action to yourself. Okay, so that's reflexive. But if you say you wake up your brother, then the brother is not the same as you, so wake up there is transitive. Now we will go to the modal verb. So modal verbs are verbs that we use to add more meaning to the main verb that it modifies. Okay. So again, we will not discuss modal verbs in details because there are so many. But if you will look at this, there are the inflected, simple. There's the uninflected, simple. We also have phrasal, inflected, uninflected. Inflected, we have irregular and regular, and we will not discuss all of them. But we can discuss those that you are familiar with, like can. It's a modal verb denoting ability. So if I say I speak Tagalog, then that's a statement of fact. But if I say I can speak Tagalog, then I'm simply referring to my ability to speak Tagalog. So you can review this one by one. You can take more time reviewing this. I will send you the PowerPoint presentation, and I will also give you the link to the video once I uploaded this on YouTube. Okay, so there's the past tense of can, could, and you're also familiar with may. It adds politeness into the sentence. So you can say, I will go out, sir. But if you want to make it more polite, you use another modal verb. You say may. May I go out, sir? So that's one function of may. Also, if you're requesting something, May I have some water? So if you want to be polite, you use may. Another modal verb. So you could put it in the negative, may not. Same with cannot. So if I can do this, then that's ability. If you say I cannot do this, then the meaning is in reverse. There are also might. So we will not discuss this one by one because it will take all of our time. All right, I shall return. So here, Filipinos believe that I shall return. It means that MacArthur is, very sincere, or he's saying that it's his duty and obligation to return to the Philippines. Okay, that's how we think of it. Okay, but if we will think of MacArthur as an Englishman, then when he said I shall return, he's just following the grammar of future actions, because in English grammar, if your subject is I or we, then to state futurity you cannot use will. You will only use will if it's in the second person or third person, like he will return, or he will return, or you will return. But if it's in the first person, in grammar books, it should be shall. I shall return. Okay? So MacArthur is only saying, in the future, I will return, but I'm not obligated to return. Okay? But if it's in the, your subject is in the third person, like he, and then I use shall, that's the time it becomes an obligation. He shall study for the SET exam. So it's your obligation to study because you're spending your parents' money. Okay, so it's your obligation to study. But if I use I, first person, then it's not an obligatory statement. If I say I shall return. Okay, should, again, conjugation into the past tense. Okay, you can review this on the video. You simply pause and then you can compare. Will is, again, a modal verb that states future events. And we also have conditionals, modal verbs, and then would, past tense of will. When should we use will and when should we use would? And then what else? So there are quiz, which you may take when you are reviewing the PowerPoint presentation. But we will not discuss this here because I want to move to the next module. We have discussed nouns, pronouns, and then verbs. Okay, so we will now know or learn how to make them agree when we are when we are making a sentence, because some of the questions in CET is a question regarding the proper application of the subject verb agreement, or what we normally say as SVA rules. Okay, so that will be my next module. I'm looking for the other verb, which is the helping verbs or the auxiliary verbs. There you go. So auxiliary verbs are what we call the helping verbs. Okay, so they are verbs that, again, add meaning to your main verb, and basically their function is to either make your main verb, you want to make it in the progressive tense, or you want to make it in the perfect tense, or you want to use the verb as an intensifier. like in the case of do. So if I say I love you, that's good enough. But if I say I do love you, it's like loving one person 100 times. Okay, so do is an intensifier. And we also have the be verbs, which we use if we want to conjugate the verb into the progressive tense. And we use have before the main verb if we want to conjugate the verb into the perfect tense. So don't worry, we will have a separate module for verb tenses and aspects, okay? So an auxiliary verb is used to add functional or grammatical content to the information expressed by another verb, which is the main verb, of course. So the function of them we will discuss later, like here in the example, I am writing a book. Am is used as a helping verb for the present participle of writing. And this gives an additional meaning to the verb, meaning that the verb or the action is in progress or progressive or happening right now, okay? Or if I use the helping verb has, he has done the work. Here I use has as the helping verb for the past participle of do, which is done. So here I add the additional meaning of I do some work and it's already finished. Okay, I have started the work and finished the work. So that is the help of auxiliary verb, and this will become clearer once I discuss to you the verb tenses and aspects, which we will discuss next time or next session. Hopefully on Saturday. Yesterday we were not able to have a lesson because we have a brownout or outage the entire day, so we do not have internet if you do not have electricity. So this is a brief discussion of the helping verbs. We will discuss this in details when we are on the verb tenses and aspects. For now, we will close the discussion on verbs because I want to move on to the next module, which is subject verb agreement, where most of the test questions will be, will ask you to have a general knowledge of subject verb agreement, some test questions. So I will end this with a saying by Barack Obama: you can't let your failures define you. You have to let them teach you, okay? So do not be sad if you fail. Make that as an opportunity to learn, okay? So that ends the verb module. We have done nouns, pronouns, verbs. Now we discuss how we can make them agree. Give me just one moment. I will now load the subject verb agreement. Now, tell me if you're not seeing the slide because you will not understand better if you do not see the presentation. So, subject verb agreement in its simplest rule of thumb is what you should remember is a singular verb must follow a singular subject, and a plural verb must follow a plural subject. Very easy, right? Don't worry, it will get hard, okay? Because we have so many exceptions to the rule. So singular nouns are the nouns that do not contain S or ES, right? We've discussed this on the noun module, okay? But if we want to make it plural, we add S or ES or any other, conjugation of the noun. If it's an irregular noun or if it's a borrowed noun from other languages, then we follow the rules of that other languages when we make them plural. But when it comes to verbs, the singular form of the verbs is the base form. I'm sorry, the one with S or ES, singular verbs, okay? So the rule is in reverse. If you add S or ES to the verb, then it's singular. Because the plural form of the verb is the base form, meaning there's no additional letters to the stem. We call that the stem or the root word of the verb. So if we have, say for example, if you look at this picture, we could say dogs chase cats. So this is correct because plural dogs and then plural verb chase without S. So this is correct. Or we could have a singular subject dog chases cats. Again, chases is the singular verb form with S. Now, for me, a quick way to remember is if the sentence has too many S's, then probably it's wrong. Like dogs chases cats, too many S's, so probably there's something wrong. Okay, so if there's S in the noun, there shouldn't be any S in the pronoun in the verb. Or if there are two, what do you call this? There are no S in the sentence, like dog chase a cat. Probably something is wrong, okay? So dog without S, singular, so the verb should have an S to make it singular also, okay? So that's a very easy rule to follow. But in English, they always make exceptions, okay? Not all nouns that ends in S uses a plural verb. Example is mathematics. Even if it ends in S, you should use verbs that are singular or that has S on it. Like physics gives me a headache. It ends in S, physics, but the verb gives also end in S because physics is singular. Mathematics is hard. Do not say mathematics are hard because that will be wrong, okay? Also, exceptions are the unit of measurements. So I can have 1 kilogram is light, singular. 50 kilograms, that's plural, more than one, tires my muscles, still singular. Always remember, if it's a unit of measurement, then even if it's more than one, always use singular verb. It could be not only a weight, it could be a volume, like 1 liter of Coke is not enough. 2 liters of Coke is too much. So in both cases, 1 liter or 2 liters, I use the singular linking verb is, okay? So always remember that. Units of time, 2 hours is too short for me to discuss everything. So is, even if it's more than 1 hour. Now we go to the next rule, which is compound subjects. So those are the ones that are connected by conjunctions. If the conjunction I use is and, then the verb should always be plural. Like in this case, John and Anna study English, okay? So John is studying English, Anna is studying English, and both of them are using the same action, study, and they are more than one, so plural, okay? But it's not, or we do not apply this rule all the time. There is a very rare exception when we are talking about food, okay? Because in the US, there are food that are always in pair, okay? Because in the US, they do not eat rice, okay? So their source of carbohydrates is potatoes. So it could be in the French fries form or potato chips. So they love a burger and fries, and they also have fish and chips, okay? And even if it's a compound subject, we use singular verb because they are just one meal. Okay. So burger and fries tastes good. Fish and chips is expensive. So always singular, but only for this. Okay. It's like our own meal, the tapsilog. We have tapa, and then we have sinangag, which is fried rice, and we also have itlog. But even if they are three items, we refer to them as just one meal. Isa ng tapsilog, right? Should be tatlo pong tapsilog, then it will be 3 meals, okay? But if you're referring to the 3, tapa, sinangag, and itlog, then it's just one, okay? So that's just an analogy, okay? Now, if the conjunction is or, this is a coordinating conjunction, or the correlative conjunction, either or, neither nor, again, these are correlative conjunction. You may think that as the same as the and conjunction for compound subjects, you should use plural. But here, for this case, or, either or, neither nor, the verb to be used will depend on the subject that is closest to the verb, okay? So if you have this picture, one man, Paul, so that's singular, and then dogs, more than one, so plural. So if I have it, or I put it in this way, Paul or his dogs are at home, I use are, the plural, because the subject near the linking verb is dogs, which is more than one, okay? But if I put it in reverse, I mentioned dogs first, the dogs or Paul is at home. Here I use a singular linking verb, is, because the subject near it is singular, which is Paul, okay? So here we basically have the same idea. We're talking about the Paul and his dogs, but we use 2 different verbs. One is plural and one is singular, because their conjugation will depend on the subject that is beside it, okay? That's what make it, confusing. Many are making mistakes regarding this. Once they see or, they think it's plural because it's more than one. But if it's singular, the subject closer to it is singular, you have to use singular verb. And then another source of confusion is the embedded clause in a sentence, which will fool you into thinking that your subject is plural, like the driver along with the passengers is on the bus. So if you see this sentence and they ask you to locate the error, you might choose is. Let's say this is letter D, is. So you will answer D, because you think it should be R, because there is the driver and also there are the passengers, okay? But the correct answer is letter E, no error, because this is actually correct. Because your main subject is driver, which is only plural. This phrase, along with the passengers, is what we call the embedded clause, and they do not affect the number of subject in your main sentence, which is this one. The driver is on the bus, okay? So every time you see this, along with, together with, ignore, okay? Just look for the main verb. Now, if my main verb or if my main clause is, the subject of my main clause is passengers, then it's plural, right? So if I say the passengers as well as the driver are on the bus, then I use the correct plural verb, because my main verb is the passengers, which is more than one, okay? So the main idea here is the passengers are on the bus. So it's not affected by me inserting an embedded sentence or embedded clause as well as the driver. So ignore that, okay? Again, only these along with as well as ignore, okay? But if it's a conjunction and, then it's always plural. Or if it's a conjunction or, then you have to check the subject near your verb. Now we also have indefinite pronouns, what we have discussed earlier, and they are always singular. So they are anybody, anyone, everyone, someone, each, nobody. So in the sentence, everyone is in the party, this might confuse you because you will see many people dancing. So you will say, it should be a dance in the party, plural, because everyone, that's more than one, okay? But again, this indefinite pronoun, we treat them one by one. So when I say everyone dances in the party, the key word there is every, okay? So every meaning one by one, so you have to use singular in this case. Same with nobody likes me. You cannot say nobody like me, it's nobody likes me, okay? Someone loves you very much, so it's singular because you have the keyword there, one, someone, okay? You can't have a word that say some two, okay? Some two love you very much. Again, that's not healthy. You have two lovers, okay? And again, the BF Moss, remember the both, few, many, others, several, they are always plural, BF Moss. Indefinite pronouns that are always plural. So only a few make it to UP, make, that's plural form. Both pass CET. John fails while others pass the exam. Several study in English, okay? So again, study is the plural form. And we also have the indefinite pronoun that can take, either singular or plural verbs. So if the verb following this indefinite pronoun is only one, like say, for example, all of the wedding cake tastes good, then you use a singular verb, tastes, okay? Because you are just referring to one cake. It can have, many flavors because of the layers, but it's just one big thing, okay? So if I use all, and then I have cake, single, then you use singular verb. But if like small cakes and many, none of the cupcakes taste good, like here, they are more than one, so I use plural verb, taste. And the same rule apply to fraction and percent, because they basically mean the same thing as all, none, some, right? All, that's fraction. In this case, 12 out of 12, okay? If I say 1/2 or some or 50%, if I'm referring to these cupcakes, then it's 6 cupcakes, right? So it's more than one. Or if I'm referring to this big cake, 1/2, so I cut this in half, or 50% of the wedding cake is gone, so I imagine this only 50% remaining. So to check whether they need a singular or plural verb, you have to check whether the noun it modifies is singular or plural, okay? First person and second person, do not concern yourself too much with SVA because they always use plural verb, okay? I love you, you like me. Don't say I loves you or you likes me, okay? It will be a major turn off for girls if the guy do not know the SVA. I loves you. Come on, okay? So we only apply SVA for third person pronouns. Now, mass nouns are nouns that always use singular verbs, such as rice. We always treat rice, even if it contains many grains of rice, we treat them as just um, one noun. Okay, it's we call mass noun. Okay, or let's say baggage. Even if it contains many pieces of baggage, like you go to Manila, you have a knapsack, you have a shoulder bag, um, you have what else? You have carry-on. They are just one baggage. It refers to everything. Same with jewelry. It is always singular. Even if in jewelry you have a ring, you have a necklace. Same with furniture. Do not say furnitures. There's no such thing. It's only furniture. And it refers to the entire thing in your house, like bed, sofa, table. If you want to make them plural, then you will have to add the additional words like pieces of information or bits of information. That's the time it becomes plural. Or pieces of baggage, okay? Or grains of rice. That's the time you make it plural. But if you do not have those words, then your mass nouns will always take singular verb. And then we also have the collective nouns, which is will behave or will take singular if that collective noun is behaving as just one group. Okay. For example, Senate is a collection of senators, 24 senators in the Philippines. So we could say the Senate unanimously votes to impeach the president. So I use singular verb, votes, because the collective noun Senate is behaving as just one body. But if they are behaving individually, like here in the sentence, the committee are arguing among themselves about the petition to postpone the annual meeting. Here I use plural are because even though they are one committee, their actions are different. Okay, so they are treated as more than one or plural. Right, so that ends my discussion on subject verb agreement. Again, we have a YouTube channel, CET Private Review, and you may search for that and subscribe and like and share, and you may comment. And I will finish this with Be Curious, Not Judgmental by Walt Whitman. And since we started late, we will end late. Sorry for that, because I have another module to discuss. This is a very short module, so don't worry. This module is about the, give me just one moment, adjectives, okay? So this will be a very short discussion of adjectives, because next week I want to move on to the other parts of speech, the conjunction, what else? I would also would love to discuss with you how we form the sentences, simple sentences, compound and complex sentences. So this will be the last module, a very short one on adjectives. I know you already know adjectives, so this will be just a quick review of your adjectives. So if it's following a noun and it's modifying or describing your noun, then that's an adjective. But there are so many forms of adjectives: proper, descriptive, quantitative, numerical, demonstrative, distributive, possessive, and interrogative. Okay. So proper if it starts with a capital letter, just like nouns. Okay. So if you're describing a person to be coming from France, you say French. The French man is visiting my municipality. Okay, so it becomes an adjective. So that's basically it. If it's descriptive, like big, small, long, So these are facts. There's also descriptive, which is of the opinion type, like the hardworking student. So that will be on my opinion only, okay? Because the hardworking to you may not be hardworking to someone else who is, you know, a perfectionist, okay? So descriptive is what we usually know. It's what we usually know of adjectives. We also have quantitative. So those are with regards to numbers, like many. But if it cannot be counted, the nouns that the adjective is describing, we use much, okay? You do not say many water because you cannot count water, right? Although you could put them in liters or bottles, so you could say many bottles of water. But if they are just in one container, you cannot count them. So you say much. There is much water in the tank, okay? You say few if you can count them. There are few students attending today. But if you cannot count, then you say a little. Again, water, a little water, okay? And we have the numerical. So those are numbers. And numbers can be, how many? The answer to how many, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be the answer to the rank, okay? You're the first student to join the Zoom meeting. There are 3 students absent today. So those are the cardinal numbers. Again, rank are the ordinal numbers. Demonstrative is, again, when we use the demonstrative pronoun, that, this, these, those, if we use that before a noun, then it will become demonstrative adjectives because it is now modifying the noun following it. Like this girl goes with me and that boy stays here. So now the demonstrative pronouns becomes adjectives, okay? If you want to make them just demonstrative pronoun, then do not add the noun. You just say, this goes with me, I'm pointing to the girl, and that, I point to another boy, stays here. So I do not add any noun, then it becomes a demonstrative pronoun. And then distributive adjectives, or what we call the definite determiner, it always occurs before a noun and it distribute, like each, every, either, neither, enough, another, other, all, no, both. When we use these in the subject verb agreement, right? So if I say each man had a weapon along the street yesterday, each is it's sort of distribute the subject as one by one. Okay, so you use singular verb. So if it's in the present tense, we say each man has a weapon along the street yesterday. You use singular verb. Okay, but again, BF, most, both, other, others, several, few, many, they always use plural verb. And we also have enough, like enough cars, enough time. So those are also determiner, or same with the each, both, so on and so forth. Possessive adjectives are adjectives, again, that shows possession. So if I use a possessive noun, but there's a noun following it, then it's a possessive adjective, like Claudia's bag. So Claudius is a possessive noun, but it's followed by a noun being described, then Claudius is a possessive adjective. Or if it's a pronoun, then we use my, your, our, their, his, her, its. Then we also have the interrogative adjectives. Again, if we start a question and what is followed by a noun, it becomes what we call the interrogative adjectives. Which girl, whose car? Again, it's modifying a noun. Formulation of adjectives, we could have a noun and then, you know, put it into the adjective form. We just add y or ful or less. Like price is a noun, but if we add less, priceless, it becomes an adjective. Bounty is a noun. If we say bountiful, it becomes an adjective. Okay. And there are other suffix you can add to transform words into an adjective. Again, particles of a verb can also become an adjective. Like the failed students is crying. Failed is a past particle of the verb fail, and it can become an adjective because it follows the noun student. Like here, bored. My bored students want to the Zoom meeting to end. Okay, so bored is now acting as an adjective, and it could also be in the present participle, the one with the ing. It can also describe like the crying baby woke me last night. Crying is not a verb here. It's what we call the present participle of the verb that acts now as an adjective because there's a noun baby following it. This is not correct present. It should be past participles. Like here, the blocked road. A written report is involved in corrupt officials. So written is an adjective here. So adjectives are generally before a noun. Like, do you really want to get a really good knowledge of English? So good here is before the noun knowledge. Sometimes it could be after the linking verb if the adjective is subject complement, right? When we have a linking verb, like the verbs of the senses, looks, so that will be sense of sight. Navy looks pale this morning, so pale is an adjective. We call this the predicate adjective or the subject complement, attributive. After nouns, we can sometimes do this, although this is not the natural form. We set your brother free. Free here is the adjective, and it is describing brother because your brother could be jailed or free. So if I say I set your brother free, free is describing brother, which is after a noun. So adjectives, you do not just add adjectives if there are more than one adjective defining one noun. You do not just, interchange how they are mentioned in the sentence. You have to follow the rules, and the orders are here. First, you mention number, then opinion, then size, then shape, then condition, then age, then color, pattern, origin, material, type, purpose. So many, but basically, there will be some questions in your CET where you will be asked to properly order the adjectives in a sentence. So I use a short mnemonic, the noskakpomp. I remove the type because it's seldom appear on the CET. So for example, you have this, and you can describe this in so many ways. That number there are 3, scrumptious, large, then it's round in the shape. Condition is flaky. Age, day old, it was baked yesterday. The color is cream. Pattern, there's a swirling pattern on top. Danish, probably it follows the Danish recipe. Cheese, the ingredients I use. Then the purpose is for dessert. You will not use this as your ulam or dish, so it's for dessert. So the sentence should appear like this. The baker gave 3 scrumptious, large, round, flaky, day old, cream, swirled, Danish, cheese, dessert rolls to the kids. But of course, you will not have a sentence with so many adjectives. Usually, 2 or 3 adjectives are there, but it should follow the normal or the noskakpomp ordering. So you do not have riding Little Red Hood. So if you see this in your CET, you know right away that this is not correct, okay? So following nos, kak, pom, that's the number, the opinion, size, shape. This is this age, this condition, age, color. P is the pattern, origin. For O, M is for material, and P is for the purpose. So here, purpose is for riding, because during the old times, they do not have cars, so they ride horses. So when you ride a horse and there's a lot of trees before, so the branches will brush past your head. So you carry a hood over your head to protect yourself from the branches. So they're the riding hood. That's the purpose. So it's right before the noun. Hood is the noun. Riding hood. Of course, color will be mentioned ahead of riding, and then the size should be mentioned ahead of the color. So Little Red Riding Hood. Okay, that's how you order the mentioning of the adjectives. So I have here several adjectives you can review, and also this will help improve your vocabulary, because also in your CET, you must have extensive vocabulary, okay? So I will send this to your email, and hopefully you can review before the exam. Some of them are explanatory. And by the way, this is not my slides. These are from the American English at State. Okay, so you may also visit their, website. So I'm plugging in there, so they will not also go after me because I'm using their slides. Anyway, they post this on Facebook, so they wish this to be, shared. Okay. Otherwise, they will just give it to themselves and not post it to public. So there are many adjectives here that I wish, or I hope that you can, know the meaning by heart, because it might come up in the exam. Again, part of the exam is grammar, and part of the exam is vocabulary. Okay, I cannot, download all the vocabulary I know from my head to your head. It does not happen that way. So to improve your vocabulary, you just look at the slides. Good thing about this is there's a picture, so it will help you understand the meaning of the word. Okay. To be a good writer, or to be a good English speaker, you must have a wide vocabulary of words, and these slides will help you along the way. Okay, I will also upload this in YouTube, so you can, scan the video and then pause, so you can read, because this is sort of being, shown, because it's already time. Okay, so I'm showing the slides one by one, so it will post on the video on YouTube. So you can just pause, so you can read the entire adjective and what is their meaning with a picture drawn on it to help you understand. So I will now end this session with saying I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying. And this is from the greatest basketball player, Michael Jordan. And again, to contact us, we have the email, my phone numbers, and my Skype. And that ends our session for today. We're supposed to also meet yesterday, but here in Bicol, we have a province-wide brownout yesterday, so we have no internet. So we will catch up with this. We'll have our third session next Saturday, and I hope everyone is here. For those who are absent, you can wait for the video, which I will upload on YouTube, and then you can watch the session on YouTube. I want to finish all the lessons so that we can go to the interaction, wherein we will start answering English questions once you have the base knowledge that you will need. And base knowledge, I mean grammar and also vocabulary. All right? So that ends the session, and goodbye for now. See you next meeting. Bye.
Thank you po.
You're welcome.